Hello. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and just realize that this world is really fucked up right now. And look, I'm just going to say what I have to say. You can take it for a grain of salt. Probably get 15 people actually watch this video. The only time people watch my videos when I talk about soccer and when I talk about certain pundits online, and I get more people responding to me. And that's all great, but nobody really wants to talk about more real pressing issues that we have in the world today. They don't want to. They want to, wherever the drama is, when it comes to Manchester United or a player that plays for them or how that all works, that's more important than what's actually happening with our political system in this country and the West. So a lot of this is just really therapy for myself to get it off my chest, because it's all over. It's all on me right now. It just is because I keep telling myself that don't be swayed by what it looks like on Twitter or social media or Facebook, whatever that just TikTok. But these places obviously they've been somewhat programmed to push a certain narrative, and if you do anything against it or you say this is just off, then you're called something. So I am a Democrat. I'm still or I'm still registered as a Democrat. When I came to Alabama, I went and I registered as a Democrat. I did vote for Trump twice, but I'm just, people talk about what's happening now with how the people are talking about now that Kamala is in the race, that it's this is like a shot of adrenaline to the left. But it's most of this is just astroturfed. It's just like the media just all of a sudden just lifting her up and make her a candidate, what she never really was. And then people just follow along with it. And then I was thinking about human natures and how we do this all the time. Regardless of whatever you say about Hitler and stuff, he clearly had 99% of the country supporting what he wanted to do. Like I said, you can say whatever you want to say about it. I have no issue with some of the stuff he did early on in his reign. But once you do things and you're not killing civilians, then you have to be responsible for that. And that's just not the Jewish people that got killed. We talk about everybody that he killed trying to get whatever he tried to get at the end of that year, at that war. Don't necessarily blame him for the Second World War starting. I think that's more of a dive that you have to take down and actually have a real unbiased conversations about it. We used to have that in this country. We don't have it anymore. But when you go on social media, it's like you have to be on one side or the other. I just want a fair debate instead of just going down and just the attacks that goes on for just nothing. We have this attack against J.D. Vance because he said that childless females aren't really good for this country. Now that's paraphrasing, but these are things that really the conservatives should talk about. People and everybody, when this happens, get Janice Aniston comes out and Chelsea Handler and all these people come out who are childless, and they said, no, they're having a great life, and I can't believe he said that, and he would do this and take away your rights and all this stuff. And this is where it always goes back to abortion. It always does. It's fine. You have the right in your state to vote for what you want in your state, and if you end up being that you want an abortion on demand, apparently that's going to be okay. But nobody wants to talk about the epidemic of middle-aged women, mostly white, that are so depressed, and a lot of those is because they didn't ever have a child in their life, that they used their career as more important than being in a family or having a husband or having kids. And then later in life, when they have no one to actually share that with, the wealth or the whatever that they got from it, all the money they got from it, they can't really share it with anybody because they're too old to ever have anything. Now, some of them that have money, they might go out and adopt somebody and fill that void. You see that a lot in Hollywood. They go out and adopt African babies. They won't have their own white babies or Jewish babies. which is crazy to me. But whatever, you do what you want to do, and then they still will complain about all the patriarchy is going against them, that the whole world hates women. It's like, and I've said this before on this channel for years, 10 years at least, that in the West, white liberal women are the most privileged entity that's ever been existed. So they claim minority status when they are clearly the biggest group in all of the United States. And they have a lot of power when it comes to the vote. And they actually vote. A lot of men don't vote. A lot of white liberal women vote. It kind of like changed the 2022 election and maybe in the 2020 election, because what happened to Roe v. Wade, that they lied to millions of women saying that this was somehow taking their rights away from them. And then when you have a real frank conversation with these women, if they allow you to listen, some of them actually will change their mind. But it becomes their biggest thing. And now they're pivoting to now the childless cat women. And now they think that that's something that they should be proud about. And we get people online and show them that they were in concerts when they're 42 years old and I have all this money and I can go on any cruise and all that stuff. If women go online to tell how happy they are, I'm gonna tell you they're probably not happy. They're probably at home at night alone, crying themselves to sleep because their value sexually has waned. I don't care. You can do a lot. You can be fit and all that shit, and there'll be some guys that'll want you, but guys still want young women so they can have babies with them. This is something that's baked in our DNA. It's not because we're pedophiles. This is something that is our most attractive thing that we look at, to father, to have babies and all that stuff. And the left wants to just don't want that even something that's almost wrong, right? That's toxic masculinity. We can't have that. You know, the male gaze, when we look at women, we're like, oh, and some of that's bad. And, you know, guys having, you know, it's just, people talk about we're looking this between when Hillary ran and now Kamala is running. That's the same thing, you know, the same attacks against her because she's a woman and all that shit. It's like, the thing is how they plopped up Hillary. Well, Hillary had a background that you could look at, but it's so much worse now as far as what social media is than it was in 2016. It's these things when it starts coming down this other side of the mountain, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. We allowed social media to sit there and say that the laptop meant nothing, that it was a plant from Russia, and all these CIA guys come out and said this is obviously Russian interference. So Twitter didn't stop doing stuff on all the other things, didn't want to talk about it. And now we're doing the same thing now. It's crazy as this is. I don't know if it's still that way, but yesterday, if you put Trump assassination attempts, it was gone on Google. It's like, why? At this point, we're just going to rewrite history, and we got people on the left that get online and said, well, his ear looks good, and somehow that makes it that he's faked the fact that he got shot by somebody, whether it was shrapnel or it was a bullet. That makes it like he's lying about it, and they believe that he set this shit up. I'm like, yeah, he's all about 4D chess, but good God. And I just want to be 100% true about this. I voted for him twice. If there was a real, decent alternative, I would vote for somebody else, because how his unwavering support with Israel, I can't deal with. We didn't talk about it much in 2016, but we found out that the people that were running stuff, you know, in a staff were all basically Jewish. And their idea was to make sure that Israel was fine. And, you know, his son-in-law is Jewish. And I mean, he cow downs to them. So his standard to me when it comes to America First, I don't think he's there anymore. I think that he, at this point, he's basically took Netanyahu to his place and basically said he's going to do everything he can for Israel, just like the speaker did when he got elected in. he said the first bill they're going to do is to do something for Israel. These are not American first candidates. But again, you get to a point, what do you do at this point? Of course, Trump's going to win Alabama. I don't have to go to the polls. He's going to win here by 15 points, maybe. Not so much here in Huntsville. We'll probably get a 50-50 thing, or maybe even Kamala might carry Madison County. But she's not a good candidate. She is a radical leftist. She's basically a communist. Her dad was a communist. It doesn't necessarily mean that you follow exactly what your parents do, but her teachings and where she went to school and where she got her political leanings and what she came up through, these were all very leftist. California, San Francisco politics, they never really jives with 95% of the rest of the country. It just doesn't. Even in New York, it's so far left there. I mean, what they've done with trans over there, it's just past what common sense can actually accept. This is a country or a state that was one of the greatest ever, and now it's one of the worst ever. It's one of the worst when it comes to education. Now, a lot of that is because they have illegals that are there, and they can't do the test because they can't read English, and other issues. And their tax rate is so crazy. And I love California. I lived there for a while, 8 years, I think it was. I loved it there. We lived in an area that was kind of out away from LA and stuff, and San Francisco. But when the new Democrats that showed up there, and guys like Newsom and Kamala, they want everything to be California, to be San Francisco, California all the way. And now they want that everywhere else. And we know what happened in California and San Francisco. I just don't, the issue I have is there is no, and it's never going to be this way. I know it's a pipe dream, but I just wish that it would be fair and unbiased. I mean, all the shit they said about Trump, saying that the stuff in Charlottesville, that it was provably false what he said when he said that there were good guys on both sides. And right before that, he said, but I'm not talking about the white nationalists and Nazis and all that shit. I disavow them. I don't do that. I think that they had a reason why to be there. I have no problem with what they did the day before, marching with the tiki torches and saying, you will not replace us. If every other group can do this, if you're black and you go in there and you want to talk about Black Lives Matter and we're going to do everything we can for black people in this country, and as long as you don't destroy shit, I have no issue with that. Some people did, broke shit up, and those people should have went to jail and been taken care of. That didn't happen. Our vice president, who's running for president, had a whole program to pay for their bail to get out after they had done things that was against the law. Well, you want that person to be in charge of the executive branch, which is the ruler of laws, that forces the laws? I don't think that's a good thing. That's what I said back when Clinton got in trouble, and he was on the stand trying to say, it depends what is. This is the top, and he's supposed to be the figure. That was a bad look for him. I had no problem with the impeachment. We've gone from that time where he was getting a blowjob, and everything's kind of like blow degenerately to 100 times more than that, 1,000 times more. Whatever you want to talk about the Olympics and what we saw there. It's just like the entire West is just losing their collective mind. And a lot of them are just like allowing it to happen. And then if you say anything about it, you're racist, sexist, whatever. And this is where we are right now. And I thought we had, especially the United States, I thought we kind of tapped it down a little bit. But now it's back, and it's back on steroids. And the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party is the media. It's like all of a sudden they make this woman that was never liked on either side, and now she's this. And they're just it's like Obama over again. And I think a lot of it's fluff. I don't think it's true. But it doesn't mean that you can't win enough of those votes in those swing states to win the election. They've used a couple of things that J.D. Vance has said that I 100% agree with, whether I like him or not. I think he's too pro-Israel as well. But he's 100% right when he talks about birth rate. And what the left wants is that they think that we don't necessarily have to reproduce ourselves by having pregnancies for ourselves, because we have to go out and make the money so we can have everything that we want. And kids are just too much of a burden. We'll just let people come over the border. They'll have 1,000 babies, and they'll be enough to replace the workforce that we have right now. Now, hopefully, that's enough to do something with the safety net. It won't be, because they're not going to be doing jobs that will make a lot of money. Some will, most won't. So they're just going to be, there's going to be a caste system in this country, and white people are going to continually move away from this stuff, and we're going to separate ourselves almost tribally in this. So the idea of this country being this melting pot, which it never was supposed to be, it won't work, and it's not working now, because all these white women are coming out saying, I'm going to support her because she's just black. And now we're going to get the white guys out there. And what they show is guys that got apparently white skin, but they're all Jews. It's like, and I'm like, these people would vote for her anyway. Now, all I will say is that this is a way to continually shame people and try to make the voter turnout to come out very low for the Republicans, and then win these states that are going to be close. And there are things that are going to galvanize these women, and they're going to go vote, and they're going to go ask their other friends to go out and vote. Even though Generation Z is more conservative than people really think, but men still have to go out. Young men have to go out and vote. And what the Republicans need to do is they have to galvanize the white vote. They have to. They can't pander to the blacks and Asia. What they have to do, they have to galvanize the white vote, because if they don't do that, they're going to lose some of these swing states, and she's going to be the president. And what are you going to do with that? You want her to be president if there's a real world war going on? I mean, I just every day it gets worse. And so I think that I'm getting to a point, or maybe it won't be that bad, and then we go back down. I'm not saying that Trump is the savior, because he's not. And it's fair for them to bring up all the stuff that makes it look like he is that. Especially after he got shot, they think, he's like Christ being resurrected and shit. I don't like what they do shit like that. But she is just, it's just amazing. I knew they were going to do it, but it's not, they had this already set up. They talked about it before Biden even said he wasn't going to run. He said that all the internal pollings was insane, that she's right there against Trump, maybe ahead of her in some things. It was always the plan to do this. And it's clear that we know what happened. He was forced out, but he still got all the money on the way out. And what he did today, where he's going to talk about term limits for Supreme Court justices and ethics. I'm like, he has no power to do this. And he talks about Trump being a dictator. How many executive orders have this motherfucker done? And then stop the good stuff that Trump did about the southern border. And he just goes and changes all of it. And the media just carries the waters for this party. This is their actual propaganda arm of DNC, and I don't really understand it. I don't. They know exactly what they're seeing when they see video of Trump saying one thing about white nationalists and all this stuff and to condemn it. Then they show this and say, "Oh, he's talking about that's Nazis are okay," and they know what they're doing is wrong, and it's like nobody calls them out on it. And then even if you do it, they just say, "Well, he still believes that anyway." People are, and each other calls them cults, and I'm like, it's just like, why even do it? And that's the whole part of it. That's the whole part of it. It's to look at people like me that has an open mind on both sides, because I have voted for both. Don't even go. Why even go? Apparently, they're both bad choices. She's too radical for me, and Trump is a fucking Nazi. Why should he even go? And is Bobby going to run? I don't like his positions on certain things as well. There is no really good voice here. The 2016 Trump, before he got swallowed up by the swamp, would have been fine, but he's not the same guy anymore. He's a politician. Sometimes he's good. I like J.D. Vance for the most part. I don't know him well. Surfacely, I think he's okay. And everything he says, I agree with. It's America first, pro-family. Talks about giving tax braces to people who have babies. That's how you make sure you have more babies. We don't need to import it. We have people here. We should be pro-marriage, pro-family. I know it sucks. I was single for a long time until I got married. Uh, but you should get something either way. I've been both sides of this, right? And I would see my taxes, and I'm like, man, you guys get more money back than me. And it sucks. But you understand why it's that way. Because we want to be pro-family. We don't want to import different type of cultures to this country. Oh, it's a great thing about this country. You can have any type of food that you want. Oh, great. We already have that now. We don't have to import more of that. It's just people like, oh, the border's not really that bad. Until it's right there on your fuck. These people all say this shit, and then what they do? Oh, shit, there's a lot of them coming up here. Let's go move out further out from the city. Let's go to these nice rural white areas with a picket fence and a gate out front. That's what happens. White people go. And so do black people. They don't want to live in a certain area when it's really bad. It's like, and then you got Kamala is not about equality. She is for equity, which means that everybody should have the same after everything else, regardless of how talented you are. It's like at the end of the day, you should get as much as anybody else. Well, that's not capitalism. That's socialism or that's communism, and that doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. What happens is the government gets bigger, bigger, and bigger, and they have all the power, which they already have right now. Any real good conservative would go in and just limit the government right now, and they talk a good game. J.D. Vance talks about how we're going to do all this shit, and Congress are going to get rid of a lot of these places here in the federal government. They won't fucking do it. There's so much money there. So that's how it actually just makes us not want to do anything. So that will allow somebody that's so fucking radical. Her history is all out there to see. If you just take the time to look at it, and look how she was destroyed when she went to be the president in 2020, and she told Biden that he was racist, and she stayed with him. Politicians will say anything. We all understand that. But this woman is not where 95% of the United States is when it comes policy-wise. Just because she's black or Indian or she's a woman is not a reason why to vote for her. If Tulsi Gabbard was running, even though I think that she's pro-choice, I realize she would be more logical when it comes to that. She might, I don't think she'll actually do anything about that. I don't think she would go up and say that the Supreme Court was a bunch of fascists for taking it and say it's no longer constitutional, take it back to the states. This is what our current president has said, and this is what he's basically doing now about invoking some sort of term limits on Supreme Court from another equal co-part of government that he can do this shit. And he's been saying stuff for the last 4 years about this Supreme Court. And all Trump did was put in a bunch of moderate Republican kind leaning people. I mean, they're not even radical at all. It's like, whatever radical really means. Most of them look at the Constitution, how it was first formed, and they're in there. They believe what that believes, and they make their decisions based on that. They don't think that the document itself can be improved. You can put amendments to it, and that's what you'd have to do with all this other shit. And you would never get that done. You're not going to get a law that says a Supreme Court judge should only be there for 3 terms. It'll never fucking happen. It has to go through the whole thing that, 75% of the states have to vote for. And it'll never happen. It's just another way to say we're doing something because the Supreme Court took away your right to kill a fucking baby. And there are so many people online. And again, I don't think this is the majority, but it's enough that'll go out and will vote and make the power dynamic different, because these women will vote, and they'll get people out there to vote. And now you see all these white liberal women, the virtual thing. We gotta help the black woman. We gotta do this. White women for Kamala. Again, that is so racist to sit there and say you have to lift her up. Let her do it on her. I mean, it's like, oh my God. And it's like this white guilt that we have because of what? Like 1% of white people had slaves. About the same amount of black people had in this country. It's like, whatever. We're the worst things of all time. And we'll always say we're the worst things of all time. And white dudes on TikTok saying, I'm going to vote for a Kamala because of this and this and this. And I'm just looking at these people. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Because she's black? Okay, if you're a leftist, that's fine. Go ahead. Just say it. That's why it is. You approve with her policies. You still vote for her because she's black and a female, and she's not black as it comes from African American. She's not that. Her dad was Jamaican. He's not a slave. Anyway, I know all I'm saying is this is like more therapy for me. I know a lot of people are not going to watch this. All I can say is that if you're young, if you see this, just take your research. Just don't go on Google. Go other places. Go on Rumble and just type in something and see what comes up. And then when they say shit like that, research it. Just don't all the time just believe it. There are people on the right have said things that are 100% wrong, especially about the assassination attempt, saying, again, this is my opinion, There are a lot of people on the right that says that we live on a flat earth, okay? Or that satellites are not really real, that they're up there with balloons. These are really crazy people, because I worked in that place. And also, they think that 9/11 was an inside job. I think that it's very similar to what happened in Butler, what happened in 9/11. A lot of bad, stupid shit happened. I don't think these people were out there to kill Trump. Whether or not this guy that shot at the president and the other people, maybe he talked to people. Maybe he was influenced by people on the left. I think it was just one of those things that people said, we saw him. This was last night. They had the SWAT guys out there. We saw him out there, and we assumed that somebody was going to do something. This is what happens. It happened in 9/11. It's happened during Pearl Harbor. They assumed that somebody was going to do something about it. We had intel that they were going to do this shit in Pearl Harbor, and we didn't do it. And there was a conspiracy there that FDR knew that it was going to happen and didn't want to do anything about it, and just allowed it to happen. There's a conspiracy out there that the Israelis knew exactly what Hamas was going to do and allowed it to happen. Some of that might be true. I don't know. I'm about 95%. I'm pretty 95% sure what happened at Butler was just a comedy of fucking errors. Same thing 9/11, a comedy of fucking errors that allowed this to happen. We had intel on both places, right? We had an actual real-time intel on him at the fucking place. And people didn't do their fucking job. And it's just like, I'll just pass it on. It's like when you play volleyball, like the two on two, and somebody puts it right in the middle of you, and one goes for it, and the others go for it. It's like you get in that zone and you don't go after it. I think that they assume that somebody else is going to do something about it. And before they did anything about it, he started shooting. It's unfortunate. It really is. And whether or not this actually helped Trump, I think politically at first it did, but then they just changed the narrative, basically saying that we don't really know if he got hit with anything. It was right away. It's like he got hit with the glass from the teleprompter and all. It started like right away, and they wanted to put away the fact that it was still a assassination attempt. And now, as I said, Google is just not even put it out there. It's just. They think that there is no some part that is not conspiracy. The left has been doing this. The media is doing this. They did this before. They will continually do it. And I don't know what to tell you. We almost deserve whatever happens to us. But as an older man, I don't want that. I don't want my kids to deal with the policy that somebody like Kamala will put in there. Because we saw, and I'll just leave with this. Elizabeth Warren basically was on TV the other day and basically said that the idea is to allow these 10 million people to come in to have a pathway to citizenship. That should be enough. Because you know what that means. That's just more votes for them. This is all this is. There's nothing to do with capitalism or anything like that. They just want more votes and more power to stay in power. These are the people that want to run this fucking country. Whether it's a country or not, if you don't have any borders, you don't have one. Anyway, I'm just going to leave right there. Tell me what you think in the comments. Please share this and like it and all that stuff. Maybe I'll get more than one vote or people watch this. But you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.